let's just say, for the sake of argument, they decide to reboot, or bring Quantum Leap back in some way. Would they do it in a serialized way, or would they basically, Sam's leaping into blah blah blah? Oh boy, here we go. You know, I think it could work. I think it could still work. I think there's still something to be said about that type of storyline, and not in a binge watching sort of way. I mean, it could be done in a binge watching sort of way, but it could be done in a way where we got to wait a week for the next episode. I mean, we're still getting that with streamed shows, and it's not to say that everything is a Netflix style or Hulu style production. We still get it, and we still eagerly anticipate the days, counting down the days till we can see the next one. So,
yeah, you know, the thing is with the show like this, again, is that there are two characters. There's really one character, and then like Al that pops in. Yeah. And he's not even really a sidekick that's like with him. He's just kind of a guy that shows up, you know, and tells him, "Oh, Ziggy." I remember always hitting, "Oh, Ziggy, Ziggy," you know. So I feel like you need more, especially nowadays. You need more. You need character development. There's zero character development because there are no characters. There's just the one guy, and he can't really have an arc without influence of other characters. He can't have a romance story. He can't have children growing up. He can't have getting fired from a job and then rehired at a new one, or moving to a different house. You know, and back in the day, episodic or you know, at least non-serialized, the sitcoms, at least you'd still have people getting married and people breaking up, and there was still something. So I think if they were to reboot something like Quantum Leap, which I agree, Rico, they totally can, I think they would need to add a couple little elements, like make Al a woman. And then maybe they start to have some kind of romantic situation, or figure out a way to introduce a third character, whether it's an actual sidekick that comes with him every time. And every time he wakes up, he's like, oh boy, you know, he knows that somewhere in this time is his other sidekick, and he has to find that person. They have to figure it out together, you know, something like that. And then maybe there's a romantic relationship there. There needs to be something that develops from episode to episode, season to season, to keep people's interest and for people to care. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing, I mean, I used to watch the show as a kid too, and one thing I do remember is there was a little bit of that. I mean, really, even with today's television, we still have episodic nature in a lot of sitcoms. But you're right that, yeah, people get married, and so there is always like an overarching like series or a season arc that this show still follows. And I remember in Quantum Leap, you know, Stam starts remembering more about himself, and and then also they're working on getting him home. And I remember there was like one time it was like a season finale or something where he actually made it home for some reason, but then he had to go back for some other reason. Or something.
That old gag.
Yeah, well, that's how they get you right there.
But see, what was cool about that, and I actually wish that they touched more on that and really focused more on these other characters. So you have the characters in the lab. You had Gushy, and that Gushy was the guy who had the bad breath. He was the one. He was the one who called up Al. Was like, he's sleeping. That was Gushy. And then Ziggy was the computer. But then you had the woman who he was in love with, and a couple of other scientists. It would have really been nice if they had like focused more on them, and maybe they could even do things like flashbacks that talk, you know, that have Sam and his girlfriend, or, you know, Sam and his friends, or maybe there's like some arch nemesis stuff going on that, let's say, almost delayed the beginning of the Quantum Leap program. Like they could do a lot of like, I mean, don't overkill it like they did on Arrow, but a lot of Arrow-style flashbacks that could really touch on stuff that happened prior, which is why things are happening today.
Are we writing the Quantum Leap reboot right now?
We really should. And
I think we are, but I need, in order for me to sign off on it, I need to have my idea of where there's like a companion. There's a sidekick that always appears at the same time, but then they have to find each other. Sometimes they find each other right away. Sometimes it takes them to the end of the episode. Sometimes when he wakes up in a boxing match and it turns out it's actually his friend, you know, and they're like, what do we do? I don't know. Hit me. Don't, not too hard, you know, or whatever.
But then they'd have to figure out that they're each other too, because they look like the people that they've leapt into.
I think they would have to be able to see who the other person is.
Well, they're going to see
real.
the confusion on the other person's face, just like theirs, right? So
yeah, I was thinking about that, but that would be tough, you know, or unless they had like a code word. They had a code word where he shows up at the boxing match. I keep thinking of that one, but he's like, mustard? And he's like, mustard. All right.
Right. Yeah.
What a relief. I was about to get my ass beat.
Right. You almost threw me off this building. No, I love that though. That would be great, because that would be a nice comic relief type thing that would even surpass what Al basically was, because Al was basically the comic relief.
Right.
Sam was the straight guy. You know, that was the Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, but Al not being as Jerry Lewis, but you know, he was always like, oh man, look at that hot chick, and oh boy, whoo, what a night! I've been drinking all night, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
But now think about this idea.
All right.
You know how people right now love to have like political implications and social implications, which are always very important and fun and highbrow. Just imagine, right? The sidekick's a woman, right? So, and let's say they start having romantic feelings or whatever as season 3 progresses, but they can leap into men or women's bodies, right? So they're in 1968, and the townsfolk see the two of them kind of canoodling, but what they're seeing is two dudes doing it. And you know, and so of course,
two African American dudes, even
and then
better,
or 1 and 1, and then Scott Bakula character is being like, immediately goes, no, it's okay, you know, it's actually, but then they're kind of like, well, hey, let people be people, you know, it's kind of like this weird,
love who you love.
What sci-fi does so well, which is we're just two people that are in love, and what you guys are seeing on the outside is your problem. But that they could really tackle issues like that really well, like that, I think.
I also really liked Rico's idea of going to flashbacks, and I kind of had the idea that whatever they're dealing with in the flashback could help them solve like whatever dilemma that they have to solve in the
that makes it more serialized,
right?
But and here's the other twist. Remember, Sam's brain is a little Swiss cheese, so maybe he's not remembering everything. So it takes like the sidekick to be like, yo, remember that time when we were at the thing and that thing hit? He's like, kind of, you gotta, dude, we got 5 minutes or this building's gonna blow up. You gotta remember. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? And they're trying to like, you know, up the ante because Sam needs to remember in order for this to happen so that can happen or something like that.
Anybody at NBC that's watching this right now,
in the comments below, let us know. Well, I also think, Michael, you were onto something too, which is connecting all of the leaps around one big issue. Like it's not just, you know, going and seeing Farmer Bill and then going over and seeing the formation of the band Anthrax or whatever, but it's actually like all kind of connected and they're just going back and forth.